Mr. Rajanikanth, you can start.
Yes, sir. Good evening, participants. Very good evening to you all. It is a winter evening. It is chill outside. So today we have a great person with us. So for this 39th edition of Sambhashane of Samprabha, Dr. T.A. Balakrishna Adiga is going to address this evening. So today the topic is Wisdom of Life, Exploring Ancient India's Life Science Heritage. So Dr. Balakrishna, T.A. Balakrishna Adiga, he worked as a principal and professor of zoology and in Vijaya College, Basangudi, and he has also worked in different capacities, like he was chief academic advisor at Silicon Educational Academy, and he is a freelance science popularizer. So this need of the hour today, India requires India requires scientific brains today. So scientific approach in the society. So Dr. T. Balkrishna Adiga is striving hard in this field. I welcome T. Balkrishna Adiga for this evening. So T. Balakrishna Adiga has earned a lot of awards also. He has he has made strides and authoring curriculum books for PUC, NCRT, and high school books, etc. So when we were children, when we were students, I was surprised. So who this person, a person who writes the books, curriculum books, so must be a great person who knows everything. So today I can see a person who has authored biology books. So biology, of course, though I am from a different background of commerce, law, etc., and I'm a science, I love science, particularly biology and zoology. Very recently, sir, so I had a discussion with my friends. Uh, so uh, our science says, Darwinian theory says, so we are from one small this thing amino acid came it birth with nitrogen forming this forming a cell, etc. And when we look into biblical this thing, so Adam and Eve theory is there, and coming to our Hindu Sanatan this thing approach, so we have a different altogether different approach for life science. So, of course, this evening, hope you will be addressing all our doubts on this. So, this need of the hour because everybody wants to know. So, what should be the approach and how we are born? So, what is zoology, biology? Everything starts with cell, and we want to know the Indian approach. So, of course, we have studied in biology about the cell, nucleus, cell, etc.,
Yes,
etc.
yes.
But we are, this evening, hope you will be addressing about this approach of how we came to this earth. So what are this our Indian science what it says. So thank you very much, sir. Thanks for coming on the show. I welcome you again. So I request you, humbly take over the desk, sir. Thank you very much, sir. You can go ahead, sir.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
evening,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Our president has sent his thanks and we welcome you with heartily. And I will be presenting for you, sir. When you
Okay.
want to change the slide, you can say next. I'll
Yes.
just place that now, sir, on the plan.
So, good evening, everybody.
Are you able to see it, sir?
Yeah, I am able to see.
Right. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. At the outset, I would like to thank Samprabha for giving me an opportunity to present my views on ancient India's life science heritage. Particularly, I would like to thank my student, M.G. Kodanram. He was one of my very pet students at that time, almost 50 years back. And he continues to interact with me almost every day. Thank you, Kodandram. To begin with, when we examine when did science begin, we go back to about 350 to 400 years back. science had its origin only about 350 to 400 years back. Two important inventions paved way for the growth of science everywhere in the world. One was the telescope and the other one was the microscope. Telescope showed the outer space, the sun, moon, stars, and all that. Whereas, and you must have heard in your school days that the first telescope was designed by Galileo way back in 1660s. And around the same time, another great name in the field of science at its beginning is that of Antony van Leeuwenhoek, who first designed the microscope. Microscope opened another world to people, that is, observing those organisms which cannot be seen by our eyes. Microscopic organisms, microbes, bacteria, virus, and all those. So the advent of telescope and microscope paved way for the beginning of scientific thinking, what is called as scientific thinking. But interestingly, much before this, about 2000, 3000 years back, India had its own views on what we are observing around us. Our very ancient scriptures, what we call Vedas, Upanishads, and Samhitas, have given a clear idea about the environment that is surrounding us. So, the basic idea behind my talk is how ancient India, about 2000, 3000 years ago, could present ideas which are relevant even in modern science at this age, particularly when we are talking about artificial intelligence. Vedic literature can be broadly classified into two types. One is called the basic Vedic literature. The other one is called as the technical literature. For example, the Vedas and Upanishads come under Vedic literature, and what we call as Samhitas and treatises, they come under technical literature. In both Vedic literature and technical literature, we come across presentation of so many examples of plants and animals that are found in our surroundings. In fact, in Rig Veda, which is the oldest Indian Veda, in Rig Veda itself, there is a mention of nearly 300 varieties of animals and about 400 varieties of plants. Similarly, in Atharva Veda also, we come across mention of varieties of animals that they had come across at that time, and plants that were used by human beings. And we see a clear classification of animals and plants, particularly in Taittiriya Upanishad. We come across a classification of, you can show the next slide. In Taittiriya Upanishad, we see a classification based on their morphological features, external features. And there is another Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad. In Chandogya Upanishad, the classification is based on the origin of animals. For example, there are two terms that you can see in the slide now. First one is called Jivaja, and the second one is called Andaja. We are aware that broadly animals during their reproduction show two basic properties. There are animals which give rise to directly young ones, and there are animals in which young ones are grown from eggs. So we call egg-laying animals and animals which give rise to young ones. In Chandogya Upanishad, there is already a mention of the term Jivaja, which means developing inside the parent's body. And in scientific literature, this is called viviparous. The word viviparous came into usage around 18th century, but much before that, about 3000 years ago, in Rig Veda, in Chandogya Upanishad and other Vedic literature, we come across the word Jivaja, which exactly means viviparous. Similarly, Andaja. Anda means, we know, egg, developing from eggs. The technical term for this is called oviparous. So the classification into egg-laying animals and animals giving rise to young ones is seen in Rig Veda and other Upanishads. Similarly, there are two other classifications you can see on this slide. One is called Udbija, developing from plant source, and other one is called Svedaja, developing from moisture. But of course, those ideas are not scientifically supported in the modern science. Next. In these literatures, Vedic literatures, there is also a mention about the practices that are related to domestication of animals, taming of animals, training of animals for various purposes, the breeding practices, all those, particularly with reference to animals like cattle, goat, sheep, horse, and elephants. Imagine at the time of Vedas itself, human beings had domesticated several varieties of animals, including elephants. Next. Again, in technical literature, Vedic literature and then technical literature I was mentioning, in technical literature, we come across huge treatises, large treatises or compendiums. They are called samhitas. There are two samhitas that are of extremely important for us. One is called Charaka Samhita and the other one is called Sushruta Samhita. We have heard of the name of Charaka and Sushruta. They are pioneers in the field of Ayurveda. They have touched upon every aspect of human body, the diseases that are caused in human beings, the cure for them, and all that. Along with that, Charaka and Sushruta, in their treatises, talk about varieties of plants and animals. For example, Charaka Samhita, compiled by Charaka, that was about 3000 years ago. Animals are again classified into Jivaja, Andaja, Udbija, and Svedaja, as I told you earlier. And based on characteristics, next slide, based on characteristics, he has classified animals like Krimi. That word is used for what we call today as parasites. Parasites are animals which live either inside or outside the body of other animals. Then Kita, to represent insects. Patanga, to represent winged insects. Mriga, to represent herbivorous animals, grass-eating, plant-eating animals. And Kravyada, to represent carnivorous animals, animals which eat other animals. And Sarpa, to indicate snakes. So, such kind of classification was available in ancient Indian literature as early as 3000 years ago. Next slide, please. Based on habits and habitats, the place where they live, and food habits, Charaka has classified animals into Varisaya, which are totally aquatic animals, Jalachara, which either are found on the surface of water or slightly below the level of water, Bhumisaya, animals which are found in burrows, and Prasaha, animals which are known for grabbing and tearing flesh. So, based on their nature, animals have been variously classified. Next slide, please. Sushruta Samhita, compiled by another ancient sage, commonly described as father of Ayurveda. More or less similar terminology is used in Sushruta Samhita also. In addition to that, he has attempted a detailed classification of fishes, snakes, and birds. Next slide, please. In Kautilya, Chanakya, Kautilya's Arthashastra, there are plenty of references available on fish and fisheries, practice of rearing fishes, rearing of cattle, sheep, horse, and elephants. Very interestingly, Kautilya mentions about varieties of elephants that were available at that time. He has classified elephants into 4 groups. Damya, which means elephants which can be easily tamed. Sannahya, which means elephants that can be trained specially for wars. And Aupavahya, which means they are elephants which are purely used for riding. And 4th category called Vyala, which means rogue elephants, elephants which cannot be tamed at all. So they had already identified 4 categories of elephants during the Vedic period itself. Next slide, please. Another Indian sage by name Salihotra has written a beautiful compendium called Ashwashastra. Ashwashastra gives a detailed explanation of morphology, external features, anatomy, internal details, life history, and training methods exclusively for horses. That is why it is called Ashwashastra. Similarly, there was another sage by name Gana, a little later than Charaka and Sushruta. He has written a book called Ashwayurveda, covering all aspects of horse, including the diseases of horses and how to cure the horses and how to tame them, how to train them, and all these aspects have been covered in Ashwayurveda. Next slide. One another Indian sage by name Valkapya has written a beautiful compendium that is called Gajashastra. Gajashastra. It is a compilation based on an extensive study on elephants. It provides excellent information on the characteristics, classification, life history, and various utility aspects of elephants. Because at that time, elephants were being domesticated and used for various purposes. Next. There is another treatise, another book called Mriga Pakshi Shastra. Name itself tells you Mriga Pakshi Shastra. It is about animals and birds. Extensive compilation on animals and birds. The first part in this book has information on 127 animals, all details on 127 animals, and most of the details given in this book can be easily compared to the details given in the modern science. Second part is on a large number of birds, including birds that come near human habitation and birds that are found in forest areas. So that is how animal science was extensively popular in Vedic period. Extensive studies have been made in the Vedic period on varieties of animals. Coming to plant sciences. Again, there is Vedic literature, plenty of Vedic literature on plants. Similarly, plenty of Vedic literature on technical aspects also. In Rig Veda, plants have been classified based on their form and growth. For example, trees are called vriksha, a name which we use even today. herbs which are used as medicines, because most of the medicines that were popular at that time were extracted from plants. So such plants were called Aushadhi Sasya. Then creepers. There are plants which grow horizontally on leveled surfaces. Creepers, they were called Virudh. Pushpavati is the name given to flowering plants. Palavati is the name given to fruit-bearing plants. And Trina is the name given to grasses. Trinamula ano pada namage ಪರಿಚಯ ಇದೆ. Trina means grass. So these were the very popular terms that were used to describe the variety of plants that were available. Next. In Atharva Veda, in addition to the groups that I mentioned just now, a few more classifications have been given. For example, Prasthanavati was the term used for plants which grow spreading all over the area, what we use commonly for fencing and such purposes. Stambini is the name given to plants that are bushy in nature. Amshumati was the name given to shooted plants. Khandini, plants where nodes are distinct. For example, if you take sugarcane, you can see nodes at different levels. Such plants were called Khandini. Jivala for plants with, Nagaharisa for harmless plants, and Madhumati for plants which provide sugary substances, sweet substances. Next, in Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a more systematic classification of plant parts. Mula is the name given to describe the root system. Tula is the name given to shoot system. Kanda is the name given to stem. And Shaka is the name given to branch. And Parana is the name given to leaf. Because most of these compendiums are in Sanskrit. These are the Sanskrit-based words. We know that Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages in the world. There is another Upanishad called Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brihadaranya Upanishad. It lists many plants that were cultivated at that time and used for food. For example, rice was called Urihi, barley was called Yava, sesamum was called Tila, and wheat was called Goduma. Now, Kannadalli Godi antivi, Sanskritnalli Goduma, that is wheat plant. Then, when you go to technical literature, there is a beautiful book called Brihat Samhita, written by Varahamihira. It has 2 chapters exclusively meant for plants. One chapter is called Vrikshayurvedhaya. Vrikshayurvedhaya. In this chapter, there is mention about vegetative propagation of many useful plants. Vegetative propagation means, many plants can grow directly from the stem or directly from the leaf. For example, potato has what are called as eyes. If you cut that portion in the eye, in the potato, and put it in soil, it can grow into a plant. Such a method is called vegetative propagation. Already, imagine 3000 years ago, they were aware of vegetative propagation in many of the plants, particularly in plants like Ashoka, Jambu, and so on. This chapter also mentions procedures related to selection of seeds, sowing practices, preparation of manure, methods of irrigation, and various other aspects related to what we call today as agriculture. Apart from that, this Vrikshayurvedaya mentions about diseases that are caused by Shita and Vata in plants. Shita means cold temperature, Vata means ambient room temperature or slightly higher temperature. So the effect of environment on the growth of plants was also described in this compendium. Next. Second chapter in this book is what is called as Udakara Gatadhya. Udakara Gatadhya. Interestingly, in this chapter, there is a list of plants that are used as indicators of underground water. Indicators of underground water. About 120 such plants have been listed in this chapter. So looking at the plant, they were able to identify here is the source of water for digging a well. Then another interesting compendium is Amarakosha by Amarasimha. Amarakosha has a chapter on plants called Nana Aushadhi Varga. That means plants which can provide varieties of medicines. Nana Aushadhi Varga. Plants have been classified based on habitat and characteristic features. Trees are given names based on characters and utility. For example, the fig tree, ficus, is called variously as Udumbura. One name given to the fig tree is Udumbura because the bark regularly peels off. Then Yagnanga, because it is used in Homa, Yagna and other rituals. Jantufala, because the fruit always contains inside insects. Jantufala. And Hema Dugdaka, because it produces a yellow colored milk-like substance called latex. The most interesting compendium on Vrikshayurveda is called Vrikshayurveda. It is written by Parashara. It's an excellent treatise on plant sciences. Unfortunately, this original book has been snatched away from India by Britishers. It is found in the British Museum. Original copy is not available with us. Here, there is a description on morphology. Not only morphology, it covers every aspect of plants. It recognizes two major groups of plants. One is called Ekamatrika. Look at the names. Ekamatrika. In modern classification, we call them as monocots. Eka means mono. Mono means one. Ekamatrika, the seed containing only one cotyledon. Rice, ragi, grass, all these come under monocots. And most of the vegetables and fruit yielding plants that we have, they come under Dvimatrika. We call them dicots. So modern classification talks about monocots and dicots. Parashara has used the word same meaning, Ekamatrika and Dvimatrika. Not only that, in Ekamatrika, he says the leaves, even we can identify. If you look at a plant, by just looking at the leaf, you can say whether it is a monocot plant or a dicot plant. For example, in the leaf, if you examine what are called veins, if they run parallel, that is called parallel venation. Take, for example, a grass leaf or a banana leaf. Lines run parallelly inside that. They are called veins through which water and food is transported. If there is parallel venation, it is always a monocot plant. Whereas in dicot plants, the venation, the pattern of veins, is in the form of a network. It is called reticulate venation. Look at the terms used in ancient literature to describe this. Maundya Parna, which means parallel. Veins run parallelly. Jalika Parna. Jalika means network. Parna means leaf. Jalika Parna, reticulate venation. So these characteristics have been identified long ago, before the modern science describes these characteristics to classify the plants. Then, very interesting aspect of Vrikshayurveda, I should mention about this is on the anatomy of the leaf, structural details about the leaf. This book says, Vrikshayurveda says, leaf is the structure in which food is manufactured in the plants. Today we know that green leaves are involved in a process called photosynthesis, by which they are able to manufacture food. And not only that, Parashara goes on to say that inside the leaf, there are tiny structures not visible to the eye, and calls them as rasakoshas. Rasakoshas. Today, with the help of the microscope, we can observe them and we call them as cells. Cells. Imagine, cells were known to human beings according to modern science. Cells were known to human beings only after the advent of microscope. Robert Hooke used the microscope designed by Antony van Leeuwenhoek to observe the cells, because they looked like the prison compartments in the prison. He called them as cells. But long ago, Parashara has used the name rasakoshas to describe the cells. It was a time when microscope was not known. How did he observe these rasakoshas? He must have described in that book. But as I told you, unfortunately, the original book is not with us. Therefore, we don't have much details what technology he used at that time to observe the cells. And in the cells, he says there is a fluid. He calls it as rasasyaha. Inside the cell, in modern science, we say there is a fluid which is called cytoplasm. Cyto means cell, cytoplasm. And he goes on to say this rasasyaha contains a coloring substance. He calls it next slide. He calls it as Ranjaka Yukta, which means a coloring substance. Why the leaf is green in color? Because it contains a coloring substance called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. It is because of the presence of chlorophyll that leaves are able to manufacture food. Why animals cannot manufacture their own food? Because they don't have chlorophyll in their cells. So he says Ranjaka Yukta Varnike, uses the word Varnike to indicate the substance. And he says all these are enclosed inside a wall. He calls it as Kalaveshti. Kalaveshti. There is a wall surrounding all this. Today, in modern science, we call it as cell wall. So all these details have been described, imagine, about 3000 years ago, whereas modern science claims that these details were made known to us only about some 200 years ago. Parashara also mentions of functions like conduction of water and nutrients from the root system to the shoot system. He describes that root system supplies the water, root system supplies the nutrients, absorbing them from the soil and carrying them to the shoot system of the plant. Another interesting thing that we can find in Parashara's Vrikshayurveda is the classification of plants into several families. In modern science, the branch of classification is called taxonomy. And in taxonomy, we classify broadly plants into, as I told you earlier, monocots and dicots. Under monocots, we have several families. Similarly, under dicots, we have some 200, 300 families. These families are given a name based on one of the or two of the important characteristic features. In Parashara's Vrikshayurveda, I have taken here example of 4 families mentioned by Parashara and the corresponding name in modern science, which has come about 200 years each. one name, for example, Samiganiyam. Samiganiyam is the name given to describe in what we call in modern science as Leguminaceae. That is the name of the family. Leguminaceae contains plants like pea, botany ಗಿಡ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, pea plants, and beans, pea, all these are classified under Leguminosae. That was described by the name Samiganiyam. I'll come back to this again later. Then Pupilica ganium is the name given to Rutaceae. Rutaceae is the family which contains orange, lemon, and all such plants. Then there is he mentions of a family called Gana. He has called the families as Ganas. One more Gana he mentions is Swastika ganium. Look at the name, Swastika ganium. Look at the English name, Cruciferae. Cruciferae means cross. Crucifixion ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕೇಳಿದೀವಿ, cross. Cruciferae ಅಂದ್ರೆ there are 4 petals in the flower which are arranged like a cross. Parashara calls it as Swastika Ganiyam, which means petals are in the form of swastik or cross. Then Kurcha Ganiyam. Kurcha means in the form of a brush, composite, a sunflower, dahlia, all the chrysanthemums, shevantige, all these come under composite. More interestingly, I told you about Samiganiyam. I'll tell you some more interesting features. Samiganiyam, what we call as Leguminosae. Some characteristics he describes like this. I have listed 4 characteristics here. Tunda Mandala. Tunda Mandala is the term used to describe the female reproductive part of the pea plants and such other plants. Tunda Mandala means the female reproductive part is placed higher than the male reproductive part. In modern literature, we call it as superior ovary. Ovary is placed above, the androecium is placed, male reproductive part is placed below. Then the male reproductive part in pea plants and similar plants contains 10 functional units. We call them stamens, from which pollen grains are produced. 10 stamens. It is described as Dasabi Keshara. Dashabi Keshara. Kesara means stamen. Dashabi means 10. Then the fruit is called legume. Now we have seen beans and pea. The fruit is elongated. It is called cymbiferum. And inside the fruit, the ovules are placed along the sides. The arrangement in modern literature is called marginal placentation. Parashara described this as Parshva Bija. That means bijas are attached, seeds are attached laterally. Which means a family has been studied, each and every family that has been described in this book has been studied in detail, not only the morphological features, even the fruit, the flower, the mode of reproduction, everything has been described, and based on that, they have done classification of, Parashara has done classification of plants. Then, taking another example, Samiganiyam, another family which Parashara mentions. There, he describes the flower as Vakra Pushpa. Vakra Pushpa, because the flower cannot be divided into 2 equal parts. Therefore, he calls it as Vakra Pushpa. It is a characteristic feature of a family called Papilionaceae. Vikarnika Pushpa, it's a characteristic feature of Cisalpinae. Shukra Pushpa, it's a characteristic feature of Mimosae. So whatever characteristic feature he describes is comparable to some of the important features of various families. Then Parashara also talks about practices related to soil selection, seed selection, method of sowing, providing the nutrients and water, protection from diseases, what is to be done for protecting the plants from diseases, methods of harvesting, and also the utility values of a large number of plants. So this is an excellent book on Vriksha Ayurveda. Only some experts from that are available in our country. The whole book is not available. Then another aspect that our ancient sages and rishis have worked extensively is on the field of environmental sciences. They were aware how to protect the environment, what is the significance of animals, what is the significance of plants. For example, in Rig Veda, there is a mention, functioning of the universe is based on the interaction between Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti is environment, Purusha is human being, involving Pancha Mahabhutas, Bhumi, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, and Jala. So these 5 Mahabhutas connect human beings with the environment. In Atharva Veda, there is a mention that environmental protection is a responsibility of every human being. So Parisara Samrakshane, protection of the environment, was talked about in ancient literature itself. Earlier I talked about Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. In this treatise, there is a mention about the relationship between living organisms and earth. And it goes like this. Iyam Prithvi Sarvesham Bhutanam Madhu Savani Bhutani Madhu Asya Prithviyava, which means just as earth is useful to the living organisms in various ways, living organisms are also useful to earth. It is an indication of the concept that we talked today about interaction between living organisms and interaction between living and non-living components of the earth. So all the basic ideas of what we call today as environmental science have been described in Upanishads and other treatises. There is another interesting compendium, Samhita, called Prithvi Sukta. Name itself indicates it talks exclusively on earth and its importance. It's about earth. There is a shloka that reads as follows: Yatte bhume viknami kshipram tadapi ardatu karma vivagvari mate hridaya marshitam, which means, O earth, let the plants and earth we have removed from your body be born at the earliest. Let there be no harm done to our heart. O Mother, you have purified all of us. Look at the feeling that the sage expresses about earth. In Charaka Samhita, in a chapter titled Janapadodvamsa, the causes of environmental changes and their impact on human health have been discussed in greater details. In Sushruta Samhita, he mentions that ponds and rivers must remain exposed to sunlight to remain always clean and pure. He underlines the importance of removal of excess of plants on the surface of water. Not only water, even land. That means what we are doing now, removal of trees and plants, should not be done. That idea was prevalent even in the ancient Indian books. Also, Sushruta emphasizes the fact that there is a need for growing more plants and preventing loss of soil. What we call today as soil erosion has been discussed, and how to prevent soil erosion by growing more and more plants has also been discussed. He suggests that severe punishment must be given to human beings who are removing the trees. Then, very interesting, another very interesting aspect in our ancient literature is the concept of Panchavriksha, 5 important trees, Panchavriksha. In all the rituals that we hold even now, as well as in the ancient India, we can see the mention of Panchavriksha's as being very, very important. The commonly mentioned Panchavriksha's are Ashwatha Vriksha, its scientific name is Ficus religiosa. Ashwatha Vriksha is in English commonly known as people tree. Then Udumbara, Ficus glamarata, commonly called fig tree. Nyagroda, Ficus bengalensis, commonly called banyan tree, Ardhamarantha Karitive. And Palaksha, Ficus tuberculata. Most of us know that particularly in our Brahmin tradition, during the thread ceremony, Upanayanam, the Vatu is asked to hold a Palasha stick with him. That is Ficus tuberculata. And Cuta is the name given to Mangifera indica, the mango tree. These 5 trees are considered as most sacred in ancient literature, and even today we know that these 5 trees, we have a ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಣ ಕಟ್ಟೋ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾಂಗೋ ಲೀವ್ಸನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ಪಾಲಾಶ ಕಡ್ಡಿ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ಅಶ್ವತ್ಥ ಎಲೆಗಳನ್ನು ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸಸ್ ಈವನ್ ಟುಡೇ they have all come from ancient Indian tradition. 4 of these belong to the genus Ficus. Ficus religiosa, Ficus glamarata, Ficus bengalensis, Ficus tuberculata. And one is mango. These 5 species in modern science, they are regarded as keystone species. That means species that are very, very important for maintenance of biodiversity. So without the idea of biodiversity, our ancient sages have talked about the importance of these, not only from ritual point of view, even from maintaining biodiversity, the importance of these 5 trees. So whether it is animal science or plant science or environmental science, there is a significant contribution made by our ancient sages and Ayurvedic practitioners to give importance to plants, animals, and environment. This is how ancient India was talking about the significance of life sciences. Thank you very much. It's now open for your questions.
Meanwhile, our president has come. I request president to share his thoughts for the day. I think he just left. So Bharatraj ji is there. Can you speak few words, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
Bharatraj
sorry
ji
I
is our
joined
senior
this
under senior
session
officer.
late because of some other busy schedule connected with Samprabha. But what about 30 minutes I listened to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very wonderful talk. Because up to PUC, I'm a botany student,
Oh,
biology
very
student.
good, very good, very
So
good.
you made me to recollect. What taxonomy I studied in my PUC.
Excellent.
But your talk is more interesting than what I studied at the PUC level, sir. So you have explained the classification of plants, that is
Yes.
the taxonomy, very, very interestingly. And now I am proud of our ancient knowledge,
Yes.
which we lost all these days. I was not knowing all this knowledge when I studied
That is why
taxonomy, and we gave credit to some foreign biologists.
That is the Macaulay's contribution.
Yes, sir. I forgot their names, sir. But we gave credit to those foreign scientists, whereas Parashara, he himself has given us this
So much.
valuable knowledge. Yeah, very, very long back. And really, I'm proud of this session and your explanation, sir.
Central government has now revised the NCERT textbooks,
Yes, sir.
where some of these concepts are being reintroduced now.
Yes, sir.
It is called Indian Knowledge System.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, though they have given two names, generic names, and what is that family? Two names they give,
Yeah,
Latin and Greek names.
generic and
But our
specific name.
Sanskrit names are more meaningful, given to the plants and their
So
classification.
one example I gave you here,
Yes, sir.
Mangifera indica
Yes, sir.
is the scientific name for mango tree.
Yes, sir.
Mangifera means sweet fruit.
Ah,
It is a plant bearing sweet fruit.
yes, sir.
Indica means it is grown only in India.
India. Yes, sir.
So every scientific name has
Yes,
a
sir.
meaning.
Yes, sir.
And most of
And
these
this
scientific, most of these
Vataruksha, sir. This Vataruksha, that is our banyan, I think, sir.
banyan, whatever.
Banyan tree. I think that is the most ancient tree depicted in our mythology, I think, sir.
Yes, exactly.
That is why we say Vataruksha Sai, Krishna, we call Krishna as Vataruksha Sai. So that itself gives us the ancient recognition of our
Yes.
trees and plants. Sir.
We
So
have
really
heard-
wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful
we have
session,
heard
sir.
about banyan trees.
Yes.
In Calcutta, there is a banyan tree which is about 1,500 years old,
Yes, sir.
still
Yes,
living.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm excited, sir, for listening
Thank you,
your
sir.
talk for just 35 minutes. I'm excited. I'm regretting for losing your session today, the earlier part, sir. Again, I will get it on YouTube.
Yeah, it is
and I will
recorded.
go through, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Definitely, I will go through, sir.
Sir, our president is back. I request our president, G. Narayan Swami. Sir, I have
thank
also spoken
you.
about the 20th program event in the initial stage, which you can reiterate. So on 20th, we will have a very good response also.
No, thanks to Dr. Adiga, and it is a very interesting subject. As Bharatraj said, we were in some other meeting, getting ready for an event on Saturday. Then, as Bharatraj said, I am also a botany student. My wife is also a botany student.
Very nice.
MSc in Manasangangotri, and my wife had done a PhD also. So it is very interesting, and taxonomy is the most disliked subject for me.
Yes, most. Sir, it is called tax on me.
Yes. Yes. So I just want to mention one point. In the new campus, what we have developed in Palasamudram, we have brought in all these concepts. There is a one is called Sacred Garden. In this Sacred Garden, all this banyan tree, Parijata, which are linked to our Amrutamanthan, all those things have been created in our campus. So whoever goes there, you can have a look at it.
Okay.
And it is very interesting. Okay. Thank you, Kodan Ram, from getting Dr. Adiga, and it's very interesting subject. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Talking about Nasin, it's a vision of our Narayan Swami, who has come out with the 500 acres campus, which is almost 3 times the Lal Bagh, and it's a heaven, and it is the international best center for training all customs officers all over the world, and it's a model thing. Modi came and inaugurated. That's his
very nice.
the way he has taken it forward is something unimaginable, sir. I will take you one of these days when I visit.
Sure.
I'll take you with that, because that's a training center that should be reckoned.
Okay.
And my interaction with that, this one we started with botany only, with our son in the college, where I could not understand because I was from a Kannada medium. Then I had to take his homework. I used to visit his home to learn those terminologies, and I was able to come out with bright colors because of his services. Sir, later on, I concentrated more on environment. In fact, plenty of articles I have written, more than 100 articles on environmental law. One of them was published by National Law School in their book, which I've said more laws have not brought any prosperity, but if you adopt the past method, the wisdom, where every animal, every plant was a one which was used to a religious symbol or religious god. God never traveled on any man. He traveled with animals smaller. If you see the Mushika Vahana,
Yeah,
or if you see any Garuda Vahana, everything there, that
everywhere,
real
everywhere.
shows. And unless it is inbuilt, it is not possible. And
Right.
last week, sir, one Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan has come out with my research article on traditional knowledge, which I
Wow.
shared in the morning to you,
Yeah,
where I have spoken how we have lost our wisdom.
Yes,
And
yes.
we are coming out with a law to protect the traditional knowledge, a separate sui generis, which you have recommended to Government of India from National Law School panel.
Okay,
That I will
okay.
share with Naran Swami sir, so that it can bring some new venture. Our lost treasures can be found out.
At least, yeah.
In fact,
Yeah,
I
very happy, sir. I
suggest
think Rajanikanth can take last word, or if there is anybody to ask questions, please be free, sir.
Kodanram, last point. I suggest whenever you go to Palasamudram, please take Mr. Adiga, because we also have something called Chakra Garden. It is beautifully, it has come out. Probably, if Elirmati is able to interact with him, we may add a lot of value from his knowledge also. That is how we have to grow. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir, before I thank everybody, I have a small question also, sir.
Yes, sir.
As per our Sanatan wisdom, is you have told us so much of knowledge today, and you are also into this NCRT curriculum, books, publishing, everything.
Yes, sir.
So, for why this was not even a chapter, leave alone as a subject, not even as a chapter we could
Sir,
study in our school days, sir.
That is because there is always opposition from some people whenever we introduce. I was in the syllabus committee. I
Yes.
included a contribution of ancient India to biology as a chapter. Where is the technical material available? Why we should teach all this? All these questions came. But that went on for 5 years. After 5 years, there was another revision. That chapter was removed. This is what happens in our.
Even today, we are sticking on to that 1835 Macaulay system of education.
They are so much tuned
It is
to
sorry
that.
state of
Yeah,
it
very
is
sorry
sorry
state.
state of affairs. It is happening in our country. Sir, also
Vedic
as per
science. Vedic science can be very
sir,
interesting because so much of
yes,
comparison is there between the previous knowledge and the present knowledge. So
sir,
much
I
of
have
similarity.
got a small jignasa. I have got a small jignasa, sir. ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇವಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾರ್ವಿನಿಯನ್ ಥಿಯರಿ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಂದು ಸೆಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಅಮಿನೋ ಆಸಿಡ್ ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಇದು ಸೇರ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಸನಾತನ್ ವಿಸ್ಡಮ್, ಸನಾತನ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ, ಸನಾತನ್ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ ಹೇಗಾಯ್ತು ಅಂತ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಯು ಥ್ರೋ ಸಮ್ ಲೈಟ್, ಸರ್?
ಸರ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇದ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಒಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಎ ಬಯೋಜೆನಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಎ ಬಯೋಜೆನಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್ ಅರೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ನಾನ್ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮ ಪ್ರಪೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿತ್ತು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ನಾನ್ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಈಗ ಬಿಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ ಥಿಯರಿ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿರ್ಬೋದು. ನೋಡಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಲ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ಲಿ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಬೊಸಾನ್ಸ್. ಅದೇ ತರ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ದಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅರೋಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫ್ರಮ್ ನಾನ್ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ಅವರ್ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಸೆಡ್ is now slowly being proved by science. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈಗ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಮ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಕ್ವಾಂಟಮ್ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಸನಾತನ ಧರ್ಮದಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಇವನ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ Einstein has made several statements that ancient Indian science has already mentioned about this. Gravitation was proved by our own scientists.
Newton. Okay, even before Newton.
Long before Newton, apple fell on his head.
Yes.
But there is lot. If you go into this Vedic science, you will be mesmerized.
Sir, today you made our evening a great evening, sir. Particularly for me, who is interested in biology and to know about these zoology and life concepts and Indian wisdom. So you made it great, sir. Sir, anybody is there to ask any other questions, sir, before I thank him?
ಸರ್, ಇದು ದಶಾವತಾರನ ನಮ್ಮ ಥಿಯರಿ ಆಫ್ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಗೆ ರಿಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇರ್ಬೋದಲ್ವಾ ಸರ್?
ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಮೊದಲು ಈ ಕ್ರಿಮಿ ಕೀಟ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ಆಮೇಲೆ at one point of time ದಿ ಫಿಶ್ ಕೇಮ್ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಫಿಶ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಫ್ರಾಗ್ಸ್ ಕೇಮ್, ಫ್ರಾಗ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ರೆಪ್ಟೈಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಲಿಸರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಆ ಥರದ್ದು ಬಂತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮ್ಯಾಮಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಎಂಗೋನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಅನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಬಂತು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂತ. ನೀವು ಮತ್ಸ್ಯಾವತಾರ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಸೇಮ್ process that is described in Dashavatara. The same process has been described in modern science. Comparable, it is comparable. But ಹೇಗಾಯಿತು ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಏನ್ಷಿಯಂಟ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈಗ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ DNA ಅದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ DNA ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇನ್ ದೀಸ್ ನ್ಯೂ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಅರೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ. ಅವಾಗ ಅಷ್ಟು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರೂಟ್ ಕಾಸ್ ಏನು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಇವಾಗ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ಲಿ ಆನ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವೇಷನ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಸಮ್ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಷನ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ನಿಯರ್ ಟು ದಿ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಯುವರ್ ಎನ್ಸೈಕ್ಲೋಪೀಡಿಯಾ ಸರ್. We can make out just 40 minutes interaction nalla we can make out that you are encyclopedia in your subject. Great to have you here.
My students have given me a title ಅದು Walking Encyclopedia of Biology ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು.
Yes sir, you are not doubtable. You are right sir.
I don't consider myself as an encyclopedia, but ಅವರೇನೋ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Sir, another point is the grandfather of Rachin Ravindra, our cricket player.
New Zealand cricket player.
ರವೀಂದ್ರ.
Rachin Ravindra.
Rachin Ravindra.
Yes.
Oh.
My daughter's son.
Great sir, very great. ನಾವು ಹೋದ್ಸಲ ಅವ್ರು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರ ಅಜ್ಜಿ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು ರಚಿನ್ ರವೀಂದ್ರಗೆ ಅಂತ ತಮಾಷೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಅವನ ಫಾದರ್ಸ್ ಮದರ್ ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ತೆಗೆದಿದ್ದು
ನಾವು ಗೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಸರ್, ದೃಷ್ಟಿ ತೆಗೆದಿರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ.
Sir, kindly give the final touch. Rajani?
Sir, I thank all participants for participating in our Sambhashane 39th edition, and I thank Sir Adiga sir for courteous presence, and thank you for very much for enlightening us, particularly me. And I like this episode very much. So thank you very much, sir, deep from my heart. So I thank Narayan Swami sir. I thank Samprabha team and technical team. So I thank mainly I should thank Kodandram, who got his master here for the show. So thank you, Kodandram. I thank one and all. So thank you very much. Once again, good night. Good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you. Thank you. ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು, ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಗ್ರೂಪು ಅಲ್ಲ ಇದು.